The salt spray stung Arthur's face as he stared out at the churning grey sea. He'd always loved the ocean, its vastness, a comfort, a reflection of his own quiet soul. Now the waves seemed to mock him, their relentless rhythm mirroring the relentless pounding of despair in his chest. Just 5 years ago, Arthur Penhaligon was a pillar of his small Cornish village. A respected fisherman, a loving husband, a devoted father. Now he was something else, something dark. It had started subtly. A bad catch, a storm that destroyed his boat, the bank foreclosing on his modest home. Each blow chipped away at his gentle nature, replaced by a gnawing resentment that festered like a wound left untreated. His wife, Clara, a vibrant woman with a laugh that once lit up their cottage, withered under the pressure. Their arguments, once rare and easily resolved, became bitter and frequent. The love that bound them, once a sturdy anchor, frayed and snapped. Clara fell ill, a wasting sickness that the local doctor couldn't cure. The meagre savings intended for their daughter Lily's education evaporated on expensive treatments and fruitless consultations. Lily, a bright, hopeful child, watched her parents unravel, her youthful optimism fading into a frightened silence. The weight of their misfortunes crushed Arthur. He became withdrawn, haunted by the silent judgments of his neighbours, their pity as sharp as any blade. His desperation led him to desperate measures. He started taking risks, fishing in dangerous waters, ignoring the warnings of the seasoned fishermen. He needed money, needed it desperately. The risks paid off, initially bringing in a haul that momentarily eased the strain. But luck, like Clara's health, was fleeting. A storm even more ferocious than the previous ones caught him off guard, leaving him injured and his boat a wreck. This time, there was no insurance. The bank, unforgiving, threatened eviction. Clara's condition worsened. Lily, witnessing her mother's suffering, became withdrawn, her eyes holding an emptiness that mirrored Arthur's own soul. He felt the darkness consuming him, a relentless tide pulling him under. One night, driven to the edge of insanity, Arthur stumbled upon an opportunity. A wealthy businessman, known for his ruthlessness and his disregard for the law, had a valuable shipment of goods due to arrive at the village harbour. The thought of the money, enough to save Clara, to give Lily a future, clawed at Arthur's mind. He knew it was wrong, profoundly wrong. But the line between right and wrong had blurred, lost in the fog of his despair. He spent sleepless nights planning the heist. He studied the security, the routes, the habits of the guards. He felt a chilling sense of competence, a calculated coldness he never knew he possessed. The innocent fisherman had vanished, replaced by a ghost, driven by a desperate need for survival, for redemption. The heist was swift and clean. Arthur, guided by his newfound ruthlessness, executed his plan flawlessly, disappearing into the shadows with the businessman's valuable cargo. He felt no remorse, only a hollow triumph. The money was enough to pay for Clara's treatment, to save their home, but salvation proved elusive. Clara passed away a week later, her hand in Arthur's. Lily, heartbroken and silent, watched as her father arranged her mother's funeral, the money he'd stolen heavy in his pocket. It felt like ash in his mouth, a bitter reminder of the price he'd paid. The police investigation was relentless. Arthur, initially a suspect, escaped their scrutiny due to a stroke of luck, a blind spot in their investigation, but the burden of his actions gnawed at him. He felt the weight of his transgression crushing him, a darkness far more profound than his initial despair. He used the money to give Lily a good life, but the gap between them widened. He was distant, cold, a stranger in his own home. He looked at his daughter, her eyes mirroring the emptiness he carried within, and felt a pang of guilt so sharp it physically hurt. He'd robbed her of innocence, of her faith in her father. He'd traded a life of simple goodness for a life of stolen wealth and crushing guilt. Years passed. Lily went off to university, achieving things far beyond Arthur's wildest dreams. But the distance between them remained. His wealth never brought him happiness, only a deepening sense of isolation. the constant awareness that the life he'd sought to protect had been irrevocably damaged, the happiness he craved poisoned by the methods he'd used to achieve it. The sea, once a source of solace, now seemed to reflect the tempest in his soul, its relentless waves a constant reminder of the man he once was and the monster he'd become. He stood on the cliff, the salt spray on his face, the grey expanse before him vast and unforgiving. The only comfort he found was in the knowledge that the darkness he carried within was finally his alone. The price he'd paid for survival was a life without redemption. He was a ghost, forever haunted by the choices he'd made, a testament to the destructive power of despair. The quiet, decent man was gone, replaced by a man consumed by his own darkness, a prisoner in his own gilded cage.